So
it will behave the same.
Initially, why didn't you take that?
So we were available with the graphene oxide also.
It's available.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
There has been no work done on graphene oxide.
I don't know. It's not.
No, this is actually the first time nobody has reported.
I'm not saying that. Maybe
You need to check
others
it.
will beat us.
Yeah,
but
well, we can
maybe
check
it
it.
is successful.
We can check it.
No, not check it. मतलब फाइल करके रख दो कि अगर मान लो
A very good morning to everyone present here, respected jury members, the other mentors, the other dignitaries, and my friends. This is Shahid Beg, Ankit Ranjan Pati, Viraja Prasad Tripathi from IGIT Sarang, and Saurav Singh from IIT Roorkee. We are teamed up for the project which was assigned to us of melting of scrap steel using solar energy. Basically, if I have to say something about solar energy, then I would say the actual source which we are using in the steel plants, that is the indirect form, the fossil form of the solar energy, that is we are using coal. But when we are concerned of our own project, we are thinking about using the direct form, that is the straight solar energy, the straight of its radiation. As a flowchart of the entire project goes is, we are focusing into the solar collector, and then from the solar collector, the radiation is being focused to the melting chamber, where the entire heat is being projected. From the melting chamber, the entire scrap is being melted and it is being converted through different gating system to the crucible. Now, earlier what happened is, when we were studying about it, we had the use of a concept of using supercritical carbon dioxide as the heat transfer fluid. But after further rigorous theoretical work and study, we could find from the journals that it is not feasible to bring it up to the temperature where it will be able to melt the scrap steel. So we used it to two subsidiary applications. One was for preheating of the furnace, and another one was using it for red hot slabs in the high-speed jets. Both of them use supercritical carbon dioxides. So next, let's start it with the collector part of the first block which we had in the sheet. That is the design of the solar collector. Basically, we have two designs here. The first design is compound parabolic concentrator, CPC, which is being made by my partner Viraja Prasad Tripathi, which is based on non-imaging optics. And the second design is parabola ellipse concentrator, which is made by my friend Saurav Singh, which is based in imaging optics. Basically, if I have to give a general idea about the difference between non-imaging optics and imaging optics, non-imaging optics, it completely focuses about using the entire energy or concentrating it to a particular point. But in imaging optics, what we do is we are focusing the entire energy to a single point. So in general case, if I would say, as literally it speaks, in non-imaging we are not totally focusing about the formation of image. So this is the first design, that is the CPC, compound parabolic concentrator, and it will be very well further briefed to you by my partner, Viraja Prasad.
Coming towards the design part of compound parabolic concentrator, the CPC consists of two parabolic mirrors and two vertical mirrors. AP and CP are two parabolic mirrors, and FP and here are two vertical mirrors attached to the output aperture of the CPC setup. If any incoming solar radiation electron AAT is received by the CPC at a maximum acceptance angle theta max, then all the solar energy will be transferred to the output aperture, that is PP. And by the help of the vertical mirrors PP and here, we can concentrate those rays to this point. And the concentration ratio for the CPC is input aperture area divided by output aperture area, that is coming to the 25. So coming towards the calculation part, the radiation intensity found at the surface of the sun is around 6.33 into the 7 watt per meter square, and this radiation travels a distance of 1.496 into 10 to the 11 meter to the earth. So the actual radiation falling on Earth's surface is around 342 watt per meter square. And but the dimension, coming towards the dimension of the CPC, the input aperture diameter of the CPC is around 90 centimeter, and output aperture diameter is around 2 centimeter. So the energy required to melt 50 kg of scrap steel is around 34 megajoule, and after concentrating at this focus point, we are getting a power of 0.684 megawatt per meter square. So the required time to make the 50 kg of scratch steel is around 50 seconds approximately, where we are achieving the at a temperature of 770 Kelvin.
So as the design says about the CPC, further we are moving to the melting part, which is our project about. We are taking a simple melting furnace. It's like taking a trough on which we are putting the metal block. That metal block actually representing the scrap. We have taken it as a standard size. There the entire heat, that black dot will be focused, and then after the melting part takes place, there are gating systems below that will pour down the metal to that screw basin, and below there will be a crucible where all the molten metals will be collected. This is the next design of using parabola ellipse concentrator, which will be further briefed to you by my partner Saurabh.
If we see, this design is the combination of parabola part, this one, and this part is elliptical part, and we know that the sun is very far away from us, and so the rays are coming parallel, and from the reflection of the mirror, these rays are meeting at the focus point of the main axis of this mirror. So our main target is to find out the maximum temperature at the focus of this mirror, and so from the work in this program, we found that the maximum temperature is 1300 Kelvin, and at the 1300 Kelvin we can melt zinc and aluminium, and so for melting the 50 kg of zinc, the time taken is 6 minutes, and for 50 kg of aluminium, the time taken is 6 minutes. And this part is the combination of mirror and perimeter lens. And so from the Boltzmann and Stifel law, we found the maximum temperature is to 3000 Kelvin, and so for melting the 50 kg of this scrap, still the time taken is 90 seconds.
So this was all about the melting part. Now, as I had said earlier about the two subsidiary applications which we had taken. The first one is the furnace preheating, and the second one will be briefed to you further. So first my part. In furnace preheating, it's a setup actually as we have planned, or we have thought of from the different journals and theoretical studies. We'll take a heat exchanging chamber which has two tubes. One is the inlet for supercritical carbon dioxide, and the another one is for the outlet of supercritical carbon dioxide. From the inlet, the gas supercritical carbon dioxide will enter, which contains PAG oil. Now the reason using PAG oil, that is the polyalkyl glycol oil, it's just because of maintaining a convective heat transfer so that heat losses will not occur. And the temperature when it increases, it's nearly about, as what we have seen, it's nearly about 600 degrees centigrade. That has been passing through this red color tube, and this is a special type of setup which we have thought. The outer blue color is a crucible chamber, and inside the outer cylinder is completely fixed, which has internal coils, which has internal tubes, through which the supercritical carbon dioxide will pass. Now, when I am putting a furnace, the inner diameter, which is representing a furnace, when that will be installed inside it, and when the supercritical carbon dioxide will run through those tubes, it will be efficiently heating the entire internal walls. In this way, the life cycle of the internal lining of the refractories of the chamber or the cylinder, that can be increased. And we thought actually that directly projecting the entire gas directly into the furnace, but what happens is unequal distribution of heat takes place, and it's actually causing corrosion and sort of loss of the entire furnace which we installed. And from the other yellow color tube, the reverse back process, that is the supercritical carbon dioxide after heating, it travels back to the same chamber, and then this cyclic process continues. And the next is the second application using supercritical carbon dioxide for the slab cutting, which will be briefly
as we all know that the blast furnace and the LD plants release most of the CO gases, so it can be successfully directed to the oxidation chamber, where it will react with oxygen and form CO2 gas. As we all know that it is an exothermic reaction, so automatically the temperature will increase to a supercritical level, and using the booster pump we will make it highly pressurized it, and we will successfully focus it to the cutting torch, where it will release with the speed ratio of max number of 2 to 3, and it will helpful in successfully cutting of the red hot slabs.
So coming to the conclusion part, we till now we have seen that we are able to make two separate setups. One is using CPC, which is compound parabolic concentrator in order to achieve 1700 Kelvin and melting 50 kilos of steel in 60 seconds, and the parabolic ellipse concentrator, which is achieving 2900 Kelvin to melt the steel. And the energy which we are using, the two subsidiaries can be further utilized for cutting of slag and preheating of the steel. And basically, if the next step, if we want, that is of main focus, that is we need the validation of claims so as to make an in-house solar heating setup, because when we came here, we saw that there were a lot of lack of resources in order to make this furnace. So what we have done is we have completely framed it out accurately, theoretically, taking every concept and every aspect, and we are moving towards if we can get this to be done. Finally, thank you. Actually, thank you is a very small word to thank. I wanted this thing to come in general. I wanted to thank Sumitesh Das sir, Tapan sir for organizing this competition and making a platform for all the young students like us to come up here and interact. I would like to thank Chandra sir also for this contribution. I would like to thank other mentors who have been so hospitable with all of us. I would like to thank the library staff for providing internet facilities and the resources. And lastly, that one-man army, as we say, the one person behind whom we are standing like this, are confident as our mentor Ishan sir. Thank you, sir. Any questions?
I have a question. You said that you are focusing the sun rays at a single point, focal point. Can you open that slide? Yes, this slide. Actually, the rays are not parallel to the axis. How can you focus at single point?
Actually, we did just theoretical work. Okay, and not the practical.
Yeah, even theoretical work, when you see the lens formulas, those rays should be parallel to the principal axis. Then only they can be focused at single point.
These rays are parallel, okay?
Yes, of course, those rays are parallel, but they can't be focused at a single point.
The focuses would be different. This is actually a schematic diagram, only a schematic diagram. Okay, and just to represent it, and we actually could not simulate it, and we cannot show you the exact parallel rays. Okay, but theoretically in research journal, people have shown like some institute in Germany, they have shown like they are doing in such a way. Okay, so that collector basically, that part is the like genuine concept which Saurabh has developed, and in this way, and then this thing has been stabilized.
Theoretically, have you done some calculation that?
So mathematically,
No, the question is that how much energy you can generate based upon this.
so to show you the slide.
From second law thermodynamics likes to melt certain amount of material from certain temperature to certain temperature is given by the formula Q is equal to mCp del T, where m is the mass of the material.
And what would be the size of your concentrated for this?
The output aperture diameter is 90 centimeter and the input and aperture diameter is 90 centimeter. Output aperture diameter is 2 centimeters and the height is 55 centimeter. 55 centimeter.
55 centimeters.
The model one.
And is there any previous work on a similar line where people have tried to concentrate for some other purpose?
Yes, sir. People have.
Just to validate that,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It has been done like some institute in Germany is there, so they are using that some kind of this technology for hardening of the surface, metal surface, and some other material processing function. They are being using, and in France also they actually established. So like when I had given that idea in 3 years ago, so they were France that at that time France was not using it, but now they have also started.
Good morning everyone. Before starting my presentation, I would like to wish a very happy Guru Purnima to all of my seniors, mentors and juniors. Now, my name is Mahesh Patwa and I am doing my BTech in Material Engineering from IIT Roorkee, and I am here to working on the colored steel under the mentorship of Mr. Dr. Dan. For this, the objective was to either to color the steel without using the external organic paint coating. I proposed some of ideas. First of all, anodizing of aluminum steel. The second one was the coating of titanium nitride and titanium oxide on steel. third one chromate conversion coating, the fourth one culling by the high temperature flame, propane flame, and the fifth one is bulk titanium addition. But here it focuses on the anodizing of aluminum steel. Now this is the basic concept. Initially there is the first surface of the sample as the basic nature of aluminium to react with atmospheric oxygen and form aluminium oxide layer, but it's very thin in nature. When we anodize it, it becomes thicker and porous, and we can put the dyes in those pores and seal it to make it colorful. Now this was my basic concept of coloring the steel. Now for anodizing, to aluminize the steel, the hot dipping process is done, in which we coat the steel or aluminum silicon alloy, almost 11% silicon alloy, and after that we anodize the steel to make it more thicker and porous, and then we put the dye in it. For this, for the experiment, for the sample preparation, the first step was cleaning. For this I used a detergent-based solution. Then for the etching, I used a 10% NaOH solution, and after that the anodizing process. And for anodizing, we can use a different organic acid, inorganic acid, but I have personally used H2SO4 solution whose concentration was 190 ml per liter. After anodizing for curling, I use water-based dye, which is easily available here, and after curling, the sealing is very important. Otherwise, the corrosion resistant property will decrease. It will not be so good at that. So for sealing, I have just put in the boiling water for 15 to 20 minutes, and in this reaction, the aluminium oxide react with water and form bohemite, which is hard and transparent, and it seals the pores. After the curling and anodizing, to test the sample surface, I have used the SEM. I have performed the SEM. Now, for anodizing, for anodizing and the dye treatment, this was the parameter I have used. I have changed the current, the anodizing current, the concentration of the anodizing part is kept constant, and change the anodizing time and the concentration of the dye to see the effect on what are the effect on the product final result. Okay. After doing all the experiments, the red one, I optimized this result. At the current of 1 ampere and the concentration of anodine was 190 gram per liter. For the anodizing time of 40 minutes, I have got the best result for this. Now this is I have got the result. After anodizing, we can see the upper part of both the pictures that after anodizing it become different, and after coloring I have got this color, and the lower part shows the origin without any anodizing or coloring. The upper part is the surface of this. Now to see, now this my concept basically depends on the pores. If we are able to get the porous thick layer, then we can do it now. So to test that, I have used the SEM, and it shows that there are the pores which are generated. So we can fill this pore with dye and seal it to make it colorful. Now the whole idea depends on the pore size, the contact angle, the surface tension of the dye. Although because this plays an important role in penetration and the capillary action of the dye. So as a theoretical some data, we can see that the average pore size, or when we use the sulfuric acid of 0.3 molar concentration, the average pore diameter was about 15 to 20 nanometer size. The contact angle of the aluminum oxide and the water is approximately 68.3. Now from this we can roughly estimate which type of a dye we can use to get better result. Now this is the to select the dye. This is the formula: the height of the dye in the pore, the surface tension of the dye, the contact angle between the alumina and the dye used, density of the dye and the radius. Now by using this formula, we can calculate the surface tension and for the dye, which will be good appropriate for the coloring. We can select the dye for better result. Now on the conclusion part, I would say that after doing this process, we can increase the corrosion resistance, and we can produce a long-lasting color to the steel. For the next step, we can use different dyes, different colors to get better result, and also we can use some mosquito repellent chemicals to fill in pores to get some additional advantage.
Did you check first for how long it can sustain this?
It's only for 6 seconds we just complete the experiment, so I cannot exactly say for how much time. But theoretically, if we can say that if we are able to seal the pores that will be definitely much more than the external organic coating.
Will you expose your sample to some oxidative atmosphere just to check it?
What is the idea behind using the mosquito repellent?
The color stick is basically used for aesthetic purpose. Now some on the buildings or some design or some we can use the colored stick. We will not use the colored stick on underground pipes or something like that. So in there we can use this to avoid the mosquitoes, and it is just an idea if we can do that on someone building top roof or maybe.
So just on that, we supply these Tata pipes. So Tata pipes, they don't have any USP because they are replaced by plastic pipes. So idea is जब आप स्वच्छ पानी देते हो, then you make it also clean because that water stagnation takes. But whether this will work there or not, there's a big gap. But whether we can do it, but the need is there. That is
So let's go fast and team 5 to second. We will give award by our chief guest. So please come Mohini.